obviously we moved to sells. It's not like sell Nick Chubb and then go get David Montgomery. I think anybody watching this is smart enough to know that's not exactly how this works. But it is pretty like jolting to see, Nick Chubb, the running back 2 or 3, depending on your scoring settings in fantasy so far this year, absolutely dominating. But you're in the sell train here, and I actually love the case for selling Chubb. So I have a few notes as to why I'd sell him, but I'd love to hear first what you're seeing and why you might sell Nick Chubb.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Nick Chubb is a great real life NFL running back. And if you got fantasy points solely based on how talented they are in real life at running the ball, then Nick Chubb might be my number one fantasy running back. But he's still only getting 2.1 targets per game, and he's not really involved in the passing game that much. So the main reason why Chubb has been so much better this year than he has been last year and the years before has been he's scoring a ton of touchdowns right now, which maybe he keeps that up the rest of the season, but I would certainly prefer to bet on guys that are seeing production in the passing game like Kenneth Walker. I'd actually probably value Chubb a little bit higher than Kenneth Walker, and I think you could probably pivot from Chubb to Walker plus something, if that makes sense for your team. Mm-hmm. But Chubb's averaging 14.9 expected fantasy points per game compared to 19.8 points per game, and that 4.9 point difference is by far the biggest out of any running back in the NFL right now. And I understand that Chubb's really good. He's great at running the ball, but I don't think he's so much better than everyone else that he should be sustaining an almost 5 points per game difference when virtually no other running back is anywhere close to that number.
Yeah, exactly. The talent is real, and you expect him to be better than his expected fantasy points because of how good he is. But they have had a pretty soft schedule to start. So you mix in the fact, like, he's got a nice Week 13 matchup against Houston. That's going to be beautiful. He's probably going to score 30 fantasy points in that game. But after that, Cincy, Baltimore, New Orleans, Washington, and then Pittsburgh to close out the year, none of those teams are top 15 matchups. They're, in fact, all bottom half of the league matchups there, too. Plus, you get Watson. Like, what if they decide, let's air this thing out more? There is, the metrics of in wins versus losses. Chubb is not quite Derrick Henry level of splits, but he is significantly better in wins than losses. It makes sense. You want to bleed the clock. You want to end the game with Nick Chubb. Like, I get that. So ideally, Watson's propelling them to more winning scenarios, but they could also just decide, like, lost season, let's see what we have in our new franchise quarterback. Let's sling this thing around a bit more, in which case we could see Kareem Hunt involved more often. So, yeah, I'm with you. It's obviously you're not selling Nick Chubb for nothing just because it's a bad schedule and the expected fantasy points, but it's a sell high. If you can get a elite wide receiver, or you can get Kenneth Walker plus a solid option there too, like, that is absolutely something I would consider putting on the table. We talked about Ken Walker as a buy. Like, people probably rolling their eyes like, yeah, Ken Walker. I would definitely consider putting Nick Chubb on the table if I can get Walker plus like a mid-range wide receiver 2, or even like a high-end wide receiver 3, or a quarterback upgrade, whatever your team might need. I could totally see that being a viable option. What about Tony Pollard? The guy has been an absolute dynamo these last couple of weeks. The running back 1 in his last 2 weeks combined, with 33 and 20 fantasy points in half PPR leagues. So he's been a beast, but you're considering him a sell. Why is that?
So yeah, with Pollard, it's more of just a workload concern than anything. Like, his expected numbers look fine. He's been great when he's started, obviously. But I mean, if you look at the Jerry Jones quote from right after Zeke got hurt, seems pretty clear that Zeke is going to be the number 1 no matter what, unless he gets hurt again, which obviously Pollard's going to be the number 1 handcuff, or at least one of the top handcuffs in the NFL, if Zeke goes down again. But I just think that Elliott's gonna eat into too much of Pollard's workload just once he gets the starting role back. And Pollard has been okay in the first 8 weeks of the season when Elliott was playing, but there was nothing that really wanted to make Pollard make your starting lineup or anything when Zeke is the starter.
Yeah, he only had 1 game inside the top 20 running backs. He had the running back 3 effort in week 2 with 18 points against Cincy. But other than that, just a okay running back 2. So if you can sell him for a high-end running back 2 or low-end running back 1 price, which is what he's been playing as these last couple of weeks, I think it totally makes sense. You did see the snaps really go up this last week in a way that we hadn't seen with Pollard. So I wonder if they, end up reverting back. Like, you know what? He's just so much more damn explosive than Zeke. We saw 72 of the 83 snaps go to him. But when Malik Davis is your other option as well in a tight game, like I think that was just more so game flow, game script, all that good stuff. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.